Hi, it's Jane. Thought I would sit and crochet a little bit and we'd have another little chat. This is a great time to grab your work, to work on it a little bit. Today I am crocheting. I will probably, do a little crochet, do a little knitting, um, just different things each time. But today I am choosing to work on my crochet, that Ripple Romance pattern. This is a beautiful pattern. It's simple. It's a 2-row repeat. And yeah, it's a great pattern. I'm really enjoying doing it. I always find it interesting. The way that Facebook, Instagram, and Threads work. And I'll say this because I made a comment about Walls and Harris the other day. And, it's just something I found interesting about the way that it works. The way that these two people present themselves and people that support them or don't support them. However, that's my opinion. So, let's move on. No big deal, right? Well, then you get into Threads and you see all the left trolls come out. And I will say trolls because it wasn't addressing them. It wasn't addressing anything other than something that I saw some blatant lies and some, reasonings about them. Real simple, 2-sentence. And why do I say trolls? Here's the reason I say trolls. When you make a comment about something that you find personal or something you find interesting, that should be it. Shouldn't be anything derogatory. There shouldn't be any kind of animosity about it or whatever. But you'll see the left trolls, and yes, left trolls come out, post all kinds of hateful things, terrible things, something just off the wall. And it makes you go, yeah, how is this the party of love, joy, party of when they go low, we go high? I don't see any of that. Democrat Party is not what it used to be during the times of Kennedy or Carter even, or even Clinton. They've now become a very destructive, violent, and almost vile at times party. Their members. Some of the crap you see is just ridiculous. So, but I find it interesting to see those comments, and it does make me laugh because I think, well, you're eating your own young, so whatever. But I just find it interesting to see some of those negative, vile, hostile comments, But I do have to tell you, when Tim Walls, I believe it was yesterday or maybe it was the day before, was asked about what he thought about the 6 hostages that were killed in Gaza, he turned away and said thanks. Or thanks for coming or something like that. Didn't answer the question, didn't say a word. And included in those 6 hostages were 1 American. This was the American who had both of his arms blown off when they attacked and took him hostage and tortured him, even while he was recovering from those wounds. But the thing that bothers me the most is that this administration has not addressed that issue. And I find it sad because Israel is putting out an effort that heard that there was a little girl in Gaza that was diagnosed with polio. So they, along with the U.S. and some other nations, are providing polio vaccines to Gaza children during a ceasefire. And the way that Hamas answered that was to execute 6 of the prisoners, the hostages, shooting them in the back of the head. I don't care whether you're left or right, that is horrific. And that is something that I, for the life of me, cannot understand why so many on the left defend that kind of behavior and that regime. I mean, the Palestinian government, Palestinian people, they have chosen as their leaders the worst of humanity. People who believe that Jews should be exterminated from the face of the earth. It just boggles my mind that you think that that's okay. And if you think this hasn't been a battle that has been going on from the beginning of time, you need to read your Bible. Palestinian is the land of the Philistines. I mean, you can see the atrocities they did even back then. You know, this was like, what, 700 BC? They were still doing these atrocities, trying to exterminate the Jews. I mean, that is their goal. So, yeah, I don't understand how people can support that kind of mentality. But, you know, I guess each to his own, that they have a reason. And yeah, I don't like that the Gazan people have chosen a way of destructive life for themselves. They could have easily had 2-state, you know, Gaza, Israel. Gaza could do their own thing, whatnot. But they don't. Then you have all these different regimes around the world that are supporting them. You know, like Iran. Some people say Iraq, some say Yemen, Syria. I mean, something bigger than what we can accomplish and to stop. To be honest, the people have to make a decision. They want to continue to live like that and continue to be constantly at war with people who don't want to be at war with them. So, I don't know. But then again, you have people that are going to, you know, fight over the color of a dress on the internet. So, there's that too. I don't know about you, but I've been seeing a lot of yellow leaves falling, which tells me fall is on the way. And of course, now we're in the burr months. And I'm already seeing pumpkin spice this, pumpkin spice that. I really do need to try it, I think, once. I have not been very open to pumpkin spice. For some reason, it sounds kind of gross. But then there's a part of me that goes, okay, what is pumpkin spice made of? It's made of cinnamon, cardamom. Can't think of the other 3 spices it has in it. But I'm like, why am I so afraid of that? I think because it's the idea of calling it pumpkin. And I just don't understand having pumpkin flavoring in my coffee. So maybe I need to get past that and just give it a good try. So yeah, maybe I will do that. Just give it a good try. And you know it's already fall because already Awana is getting ready to start up next week. I'm ready, but I'm not ready for it. But it'll be, it's going to be fun like it was the year before. It was great. It's so neat to see these kids grow, you know. So this Sunday, one of the gals has been away for part of the summer, and she came back and she was in church. And it was so nice to see her. We were talking about some of the memories from last year's Awana. And I said to her, "Do you remember the race around Christmas time where you guys were delivering the Santa's prizes in the box and the rest of your team was pulling you in the boxes?" She started laughing. She said, "Yeah." And I said, "Do you remember how crazy your ride got in that box?" And she started laughing. She goes, "Yeah, that was fun." And her mom was like, "What are you talking about?" So I was telling her, a little bit about what it was. I said, "Boy, they got them boxes flying with these kids in the boxes." And then Ella looked at me and she goes, "Did you like being on stage at the end?" I said, "No, I didn't like it at all." I said, "I don't understand why I had to be on stage." But I said, they wanted all your parents to be able to take a good picture of you on stage, receiving your awards, to see you up there, to see the things that had happened and all the good things. She goes, "Well, okay, I kind of understand that, but I sure hope we don't have to go on stage this next year." I said, "Well, we're probably going to have to, but you know what? We'll stand by each other and support each other during that time, okay?" She goes, "Yeah, I'll go if you'll go up with me." So yeah, and this is something that I enjoy about this church. We have a lot of people, young, old, who constantly are finding out what's going on in each other's lives. We talk to each other. It's not like the old group of people over here, teens over there, the young kids playing, whatnot. There's a lot of interaction, and I absolutely love that in this church. I've not seen that in a lot of churches in the past, so it's great to see that it's actually happening. So yeah, and of course, I don't know if your churches do this. Our church gets involved in what they call home groups, which are just small groups of people who get together in someone's home. And we do a study of the Bible. Well, this year they've decided that we're all going to do the same study, which is probably a good idea. In the past, we got to choose what we studied. So this year we are doing the book of Acts. So that's going to be quite a bit of interesting things to see. And I find it interesting because it's written by Luke, the author of Luke, which Luke was not a Jew, he was a Gentile. He was not one of the original disciples. He was also a doctor, but he wrote the book of Luke, and he also wrote the book of Acts. And he'd written them to where they were supposed to go right next to each other. So a lot of people would advise you that when you study the book of Luke, you follow it by looking at Acts. So, yeah, that's kind of interesting. And I never knew that he was a Gentile. We always assumed that they were all Jewish, but that isn't so. So it should be an interesting year. The cats have been a little on a strange side. I think I had told you Monday about the regatta here, which today is the last day of the regatta, sort of. Last night they had fireworks, and the cats were just a little on the nutsy side. We can hear that, but earlier in the day, probably around 2:30 or 3, there were like 4 real loud booms, and there wasn't any thunder, and we don't know what the booms were, and people were saying that that was fireworks, and we're like, why would you do it in the middle of the day? So we still don't know what that was, but they do fireworks on the last Saturday and normally last Sunday. And normally they also do them on Monday night. Some do. Most time those that are doing it Sunday night are from the river. They're on the river. There is a part of that area that people can camp all summer long. Those that have boats or don't have boats, they just want to camp. They have campers, fifth wheels, those kind of things down there where they can camp. And lots of times it's those folks that are setting off fireworks on Monday night, which is Labor Day. But it is a regatta where there are boat races, and there are boat races going on today as well. And they have that little fair scene over there. It's about maybe a block of the city street. And they have vendors, and they have all kinds of rides, and they have lots of food, different types of food. It's a bit of a party, for them. But the cats did not enjoy the fireworks at all. They were trying to get in the window to see what was going on. They kept running to me for comfort, which I just never expected to see that. 4th of July, people around the area set off fireworks, and it was no big deal. And I think maybe that was because it wasn't like one after another, like they do at fireworks displays. So maybe that's what got them on edge. I don't know. And yesterday we had a visit from the bear, which the kitty cats did not enjoy the bear being up on their backside behind the retaining wall. Which is funny because when they see the deer, they just go, they watch, they talk, that little the kitties do. And they just watch. The bear, they saw the bear, and both of them instantly hunched up. I have never seen them hunched up, so it was rather interesting to see them, get in that position. It's like, whoa. So apparently they know that the bear is not a good guy. Good thing to be around for their little kitty selves. Who knows, maybe where they were rescued from, there were bears. I've got no idea. But yeah, and they get needy. And of course, I told you Monday, Izzy was just really OCD. She kept trying to bury food. She'd walk past the food bowl and she'd try to bury it. She did that probably 15 times during the day. And I call it OCD for the kitty, Then, of course, she goes back to where that vent is in the hallway, and she just does this thing with her paw on the, the vent, the wire part, or the metal part. So, I don't know what kind of mood she was in yesterday. She carried her little stuffed toy around with her several places. So, that is her comfort measure. And I had tried to put it away, but she keeps finding out where it's at hidden, and she will take it. It is hers. So, I just leave it down, let her do what she's going to do with it. Can't keep trying to keep it from her because she's going to keep getting it. So. And Ronan has this thing he constantly wants to have his head rubbed and his chest rubbed. He doesn't like having his belly rubbed. He will let me rub it once or twice, and then he's like, all right, I'm done. Get back to the chest. He will actively use his paws to bring my hand back to his chest. And if I stop petting him, he will reach out and grab my hand with his paws. But lately, he's been doing this thing of wanting to be at the edge of the bed under my feet with me rubbing his head and his back with my foot, Sometimes I wonder about these goofy cats, some of the things that they do, they get into. I had one of those soft cube boxes that I've used in the cube storage units in the past, or even on just bookshelves. Well, I had one that was down and had left it open, and now the cats have claimed it. Lots of times Izzy puts her toy in there, or she'll go sit in it to look at things around the house, to watch things on the floor, that kind of thing. Ronan likes to sleep in it, so it's a box. Cats in their boxes, right? So, do you have some upcoming plans for your holiday crochet or knitting? Is there something you're specifically going to work on? Thought about doing an amigurumi for Halloween, but I don't know what I want to make. So I'm trying to find something to make. And then I thought, well, I could do crochet pumpkins, put them on the table, part of that with some leaves. But that's kind of like, that's just fall. So I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. Have you guys got figured out what you want to do? Do you decorate for Halloween? Do you decorate for seasons even? I know a lot of people don't. I don't always. I do decorate for certain things, like Christmas, Thanksgiving. Not so much Easter, other than changing out my tablecloths for it, those kind of things. But yeah, what are you working on for this season? Anything special? And yeah, think about it. We're now, September 3rd or 4th or whatever day it is? I guess it's the 4th because it's Wednesday. Halloween's October 31st. 2 months. Less than 2 months. Is that not crazy? And I want to know, why is it when we get older that time just seems to fly by? I don't understand that. Seems like it's going by too fast. Way too fast. Way, way too fast for me. What can I say? But then again, it seems like yesterday my grandkids were little. Now they're not. So, yeah, just going by too fast, too fast. What do you guys think of the Taylor Swift dress? The crochet dress. Have you tried to make that dress in the past? You know, there's a part of me that's like, well, just granny stitch. You know, what's the big deal? It's just a dress. Why are people making a big thing out of it? But then again, you know, it's the newest, greatest fad. It's also getting to the point where it's sweater weather. You know, it's time to start looking to make those kind of things. So tell me, do you like making garments? I have a mixed emotion about garments. I do like making them. I don't always enjoy making them for myself. Don't mind making them for others. Have you guys made any garments for yourselves? What are your thoughts on making those garments? I watched today Lottie of Enjoying Cancer as a Lifestyles video about the the monthly challenge that her and Terry from Nana's Crochet Ideas do all the time. And they do it every month, and I always find it interesting to see what it is. And she had out there all the pinwheels from the the Bible challenge. And I have been keeping up with that. I just haven't been following through. I haven't been able to find the time to do the pinwheels as well as everything that I've been doing. So I have put that pattern and those materials in the background, put them aside in one tote so that I can do that at a later time. But I saw all those pinwheels that Lottie has made, and I was like, wow, I am really way behind on that. And then I remembered, oh yeah, I've already decided in my mind I will do that again another time. But I found it interesting to see how many she has done, to see how well she's gotten down with that challenge to getting those things done. So yeah, that was interesting to see. And of course, lately I've been watching a lot of those little clips of the different fashion shows and things. And there's a part of me that goes, do they sell any of these fashions? And who in their right mind would wear some of them? But then on top of that, there's a part of me that goes, ew. And I'm sure that they're at such a high price. Let me get a drink. My throat's getting dry. That it's at such a high price that only the rich could afford it. And then I'm like, where do they wear those things? Do they actually wear them out in public when they go to a fancy dinner? Or maybe they're purchasing them for their Halloween costume? I don't know. But some of those are absolutely ridiculous. And of course, some of my favorite videos are those people where they will show the fashion and then they come out in something that they've put together, with their household goods, like, the shower sheet, the shower curtain with the rod draped around them or something. I think those are funny. Those give me a laughing. Because that's what I think about high fashion. I don't understand it. I don't see the purpose of it. I don't see what it does that's good for humanity or anything other than give us a good laugh. Maybe that's what it's for, to give us a good laugh at them. I wonder. Have you started on any of your Christmas projects? I know I've talked about Halloween projects, but Christmas is right around the corner too. So have you started on any of those? Me? Of course not. Haven't started on anything. Even though I have startitis. And yes, you have no idea how badly I want to get started on something or even go back to those pinwheels. But if I do that, that's going to take away from this or from my sweater. It's hard to learn to become monogamous with my knitting and my crochet. And you know what? Now I know why I don't like it. It's because I can't do it. I'm weak-willed. Oh, and seeing some of those new yarns, I gotta tell you, I'm having FOMO. Especially now that Premier has come out with the solid colors of puzzle yarn. I don't know if you have ever used the puzzle yarn, but I have to tell you, the puzzle yarns that I have worked with, I love the feel of them. I love the finished products, and they're stunning. So I'm looking forward to someday getting some of those plain colors, solid colors. Not anytime soon, but I am looking forward to it eventually. So yeah. And this is something that I find interesting. I have a lot of people telling me that Joann's is carrying a lot of yarn, different colors, those kind of things. And I do see that somewhat. I don't see it so much in my area, Joann's. There is a Joann's in Williamsport, and I very rarely see very many new yarns there. I just don't. The one in State College has a bigger yarn display, but it's not real huge by any stretch of the imagination. But you can sometimes get some of those newer yarns. When they first come out, they have a big blitz of them out in the stores, but then you don't see them in the store any longer. You see the normal brands that they carry and their name brand themselves. They're basics for the twist. Big twist or whatever they call it now. You see their, normal colors, those kind of things. And of course, my Hobby Lobby is just sad. Because they just keep downsizing that yarn. It seems like about every other month. And I don't like seeing that. And I don't understand why they have that big, thick, chenille type yarn that's like a 7 size. You know what I'm talking about. Stuff you have to use your hands or a humongous hook or a humongous set of knitting needles to work with. I don't understand why they carry so much of that. I mean, I don't see that much of it moving. So why are they carrying that? Most of the people go for 4s and 5s, some DK weights. Why aren't they carrying more of that? So I don't know. It's just, disheartening to see them doing away with that. And of course, seeing them add more home goods. I mean, they're slowly getting rid of their crafts and becoming more of a home decor store. And I'm wondering if the one that Altoona is our bigger Hobby Lobby, and I'm wondering if the Altoona store is doing the same thing. Now, granted, they didn't have a big yarn display to begin with either, but they did have a ton of other crafts that you could do. Had all kinds of woodworking, glassworking, mosaic tile type things that you could do. Stained glass. Yeah, a lot of things you could get there. The one that's here, you can get most of the supplies, but not all of them. And many times you have to go online, you know? So, just disheartening to see that it just seems to be getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And I can see why yarn companies can charge higher prices, because they know they've got us by our wallet, you know? But then again, every once in a while you do find a steal and deal. Not like you used to, though, you know? And I do miss some of those stores that had great deals. I miss that used to be Deal Genius would have some really great prices on yarns. Now I'm seeing that it's basically the same price it was when it was in a regular store. Have any of you tried buying any of the yarn things, yarn lots on eBay or even Facebook Marketplace? And what has been your experience if you have? I mean, I like looking at those. You know, the yarn de-stash sites. That kind of thing. I do enjoy looking at that. I find that fun. I know. Well, am I crazy, right? Some of my fun things in life are to look at yarn, to look at fabrics. There is no hope for me, is there? But anyway, I do enjoy those things, doing those different things and getting to see the different patterns that are out there. Then you see a lot of the fabrics that are tried and true fabrics, and they just seem to be out there forever and ever and ever. And of course, one of those has always been the skulls with the roses. People love that pattern. A lot of people love the sugar skulls, so that's always a popular fabric. And lots of times dogs and kitties and all that kind of stuff. Those are favorite fabrics to be seen out there. So, yeah, that's a lot of fun to see all the different fabrics that way. And of course, Hobby Lobby has a great selection of fabrics, and they have some beautiful fabrics in there. But I am going to say this. There are many times that you can find a great, beautiful fabric as your main feature there, but then you have a hard time matching what we call blenders in with it because the colors are off. So I don't know what that's about. It may be what our store is ordering. Maybe. Who knows? So, yeah. The only thing that I don't like is it seems that they're quilting, at least in my area. Very rarely do they have the quilt padding on sale. Now you can find that oftentimes at Joann's, that it's on sale. Because, if you don't realize it, quilt padding is pretty expensive. especially when you realize how much you have to put in to a quilt. Give you an example. I have done for commission some quilts for people. And, I give them the direct price per yard for the fabric that they're choosing. And they choose the fabric. They choose the backing for the fabric. And depending on the size quilt they want, I tell them how many yards are needed. Because generally what I want them to do is to purchase that fabric, both of them, online, and then have it sent to me if they're not near me. Otherwise, we go to the store and I let them buy that fabric themselves so that they can see the cost of the fabric in itself. Then we go and we look at the batting. And a lot of them will say, the batting is $12.99 a yard. And I'll say, okay, but we need to look at the size of the batting. If we're doing a king size blanket, we're going to need this much batting. I'm going to need this much so that I can sew it on the end to make it long enough for your king size quilt that you want made. And so you need to consider this. This is how much we're going to need to get. And when they see the cost of that, they're like, wait a minute, I've got almost $200 into a quilt. Yes, you do. And now on top of that, I'm going to make this quilt for you. I'm going to put this all together, and I am going to do the quilting myself, which many quilters will charge you per stitch. I do not. I charge you just straight flat fee for what I'm doing. So yeah, it's going to add another $200 to $300 onto the quilt, depending on the price, the size of the quilt that you want. And they're like, wow, that's a lot of money. I say, yeah, it is. But if you want a quilt that is personalized, something you want, it is going to cost you money unless you learn to do it yourself. And even if you do learn to do it yourself, you're going to pay the cost for all those supplies to get it done. That's not including the wear and tear on your machines. So, I always find that interesting. And I've had a lot of people who were rather surprised at the cost. But then, once they started sitting and figuring it out and how much it's going to cost them to learn how to quilt and how many mistakes they might make while making that quilt, a lot of times they'll figure out, yeah, it's worth it. It's worth it. So, when you people see these quilts and things that are made in the stores, and I use quilt term loosely, you got to remember they're using just some basic things. And many a times those designs you see that are on the fabric or printed on the fabric fades faster. It doesn't hold up as well. They use substandard batting. So that's why you'll see when you go to when you go to wash your quilt, that it pills. It just kind of sinks into one area. And a lot of that has to do because people don't understand that you have to have so much quilting within a certain inch space to keep that batting from shifting. So there are a lot of things that go into quilting that a lot of people don't realize. And they think, oh, I'm just going to buy that comforter or that quilt that I saw at Target for $129. Get what you pay for. That's for sure. And then, of course, oftentimes there's no way to repair it if something does happen to it. So, yeah. But it's a lot of fun teaching people about the quilting. about the cost of it and why it's so expensive when you go to someone that you've asked to make you a quilt. Yep. I had a friend that was doing she makes weighted blankets, and she crochets weighted blankets. And I had asked her if she had figured out the cost of making one of those blankets, and she hasn't. I don't know if you've ever made those. Generally they use whatever yarn you're going to use, and generally a lot of folks will use pony beads to make it a weighted blanket. Some of them are amazing. Some of them are just plain, fun to look at because the way they place the beads, that kind of thing. And she said, no, I hadn't done that. I said, well, would you consider doing that so I could have an idea of how much it costs for you to make the different sizes of blankets you make? She goes, you know what, I think I will. She said, I'm kind of curious too. A lot of hers she makes and she gives to people who have children who need that type of blanket. A weighted blanket often will give you security when you have anxiety. It does a lot of things for you emotionally. So I'm just curious, to see what her result would be on the cost, on how much she spends on those beads. But then again, maybe she goes and she gets the beads, at Joann and uses a 50 or 60% off coupon. Who knows? So, yeah. All right, guys, I think I've chatted on long enough. I've carried on this conversation for way too long, talked about this and that, but at least I got a few rows of crochet done. I hope you guys got a few rows of crochet or knit, whatever it is you chose to do. Or if you're diamond painting listening to this, I hope you were able to get a few things done. And yeah, I'll see you again soon. Everybody have a great week. Remember, be kind to one another. See you guys soon. Bye.